Hey, how y'all? Our focus this week was solution focused therapy, narrative therapy, and emotionally focused therapy. And I think the one that's hardest to understand because it's much different than the others is narrative therapy with families. So I want to do this real quick lecture just to give you an overall view of this. All of these lectures are overall views anyway, as you well know by now, this late in the semester. But I wanted to run through this rather quickly and just to get you in tune with how this one differs from things like strategic family therapy or the Milan systemic family thing or these that we've already covered. So let's run over these real quick and just give you an idea of what's going on. And let's begin with the actual process. I don't want to give you the background of it. You can read all that. I want to give you the process as though you're coming into the office, and we're going through this established set of phases, and that's what we'll cover for the next few minutes. Phase one is called the assessment. This is true in all of them. So as you read through your textbook, you'll see that we talk about it in terms of phases and not sessions. I can't give you a good reason why they want to call them phases, but that's fine. You get the picture. So what happens here is you come into a narrative setting, a narrative um, therapy setting, and in the beginning of it, the assessment phase, I want to get to know you, not the problem. I want to know about you. We discuss you. And this is not new. I mean, this happens in a lot of, like even in interviews. You go for a job interview, sometimes they want to ask you questions about you, how you feel about certain things, so on and so forth. Well, that's kind of what's going on here. We want to get to know who you are. We want to know what your strengths are and um, what's going on with you. Why is this a problem for you? And then we want you to uh, we want to establish with you the fact that you are a person that is separate from this problem. In other words, the problem is one entity and you're another, although it's your problem. So we want to get a full picture of what the story is, and we're going to bring the family in. This family therapy, right? So we're going to have the family in, and we're going to begin to question them about the problem because we're going to get the different perspectives. We got to know the whole story. I've mentioned this to you before that I couldn't treat you uh, with you holding back information from me because I'm not going to know what to treat. So this is where the honesty factor comes in. Clients will tell their therapist stuff they may not even tell their significant other. That's an old term you may not even heard about. So anyway, we want to be intimate in that way, in the sense of professionalism and getting to the root of the problem. So we want to look for overlaps. We want to look to see how the stories intertwine. The stories being yours, the problem holder, and others involved in it. And I want to treat this through the realm of curiosity. I want to know about the family, their interests, their careers, everything. Get to know you before we even discuss the problem. So we want to make this a positive atmosphere. We want to make it a friendly atmosphere. We don't want the cold therapist client kind of an atmosphere. We want this to, in other words, I want to assimilate somewhat into your family. You may ask their questions, guiding questions you may ask. I've heard a little about the problem, da da da. Tell me more about you. and so on and so forth. What are your your hobbies, so on and so forth. That would be the gist of phase one. Phase two is getting to the problem now. So now I know what it is, I've learned about you. I've learned about members of your family, and then now I want to know um, what the problem is and where its position lies on the list of priorities in your life. So we're going to ask you what the problem is. What is your definition of this problem? What about this, that, or the other? Tell me a little bit about what brought you in today, kind of deal. And I may be taking notes. One of the things in a narrative therapy session is note taking, um, and there's a lot of transparency. I'm going to tell you, I'm writing notes. Don't worry about it. I'm writing notes. I remember taking a um, truck driving test, driver's test, and the examiner said, "I'm going to be writing notes. Don't worry, you're okay, but I'll be writing notes down about what you do." And that's what you do in one of these phase two sessions. The family's here, they talk about the problem, and then I start talking to you about the problem in an external way. Um, I talk about it with the problem as the problem, not you as having the problem. I know that's hard to understand, but It's almost like we're talking about a problem, not your problem. I hope that clarifies that. So I may ask you to name the problem uh, in this process, and when I do, I'm going to take notes about what wording you use to describe it to me, because that's going to give me a perspective about what your perspective is, if that makes sense to you. Um, we're gonna talk about the length of time this has been going on, uh, and see how that affects the situation. Something popped into my mind. You, counseling sessions, psychotherapy sessions, when it involves more than one person, may also involve blame. It may also involve defensiveness, etc. So I have to monitor that what's going on. If it becomes a Jerry Springer thing, if you don't know what that is, Google it. If it becomes a confrontational situation, I'm going to have to slam on the brakes. I'm going to have you refocus on the problem, not the blame game. And all done nicely. So we get you off of this blame business and into the realm of what's the ultimate goal of this. Phase three is an assessment of family dynamics, and that's self explanatory. Um, I'm going to have you assess the problem related to one another. I'm not going to do that. So you assess the problem, you talk about how it's affecting you, independent of anything that I do. I'm going to be quiet and listen to it. I'll do a little bit of direction, but not much. And what that does is it allows the family to take total ownership of what the problem is. It also lets them look at the effects it's having on the family and in each individual family member. I will take what's known as a not knowing stance. I won't make any assumptions. I won't make any assumptions about the you or the problem if you're the client. And I may use things like let's pretend it's depression. I may use things like uh, may use questions. Again, I apologize. I'm formulating these in my mind. How does this problem, pretending it's depression, because it's good to have something to work with here, how does it affect your relationship with the family? How does it interfere with your day-to-day life? Now, we're not talking about the clinical side of things. We're talking about practical things. So I'm asking you to describe to me what this is doing to you, basically. Um, and how was your life before the problem came along? Because that gives us a working area that maybe becomes part of the goal. And then we talk about in phase 4 the goals. We're going to define what your life would be like if you didn't have this problem. Um, I may have to change the conversation within the session among the family members. I have to get you to want to talk about this, not have an attitude, I don't want to address this, because that's not going to get us anywhere. So I may say, I may ask you to think about the disruption that takes place at the house when this problem uh, manifests itself. And I may even talk about control. What control are you or are you not able to exercise when this thing pops up? What can you do in terms of baby steps to reorganize what's going on and work around this problem while we try to get it taken care of? And then the next to the last, amplifying the change, phase 5. Excuse me. What we want to do here is assign a task to each family member to address this problem and defeat this problem, clear it up, heal it, whatever the terminology is you want to use. I also want to question the family about what progress has been made since the last visit. Have you been successful in managing this problem all week? Have you maintained this better balance as far as relationships are concerned? Whatever it is that you've done, this is kind of a report back to me, whatever the case might be. And then finally, there's termination. In termination, basically, in narrative family session, termination, each session, 1 through 5, should be treated as though that's the last session. It's not like other therapies where you say, okay, we've made it to point B, so next session we'll work on getting to point C or whatever. That's not the way you handle narrative sessions. You handle them as though, okay, this session is ended, and you treat it as terminal, knowing full well that it's probably not going to be. But if it's treated that way, what does that do? That heads the family into the right direction, thinking that, hey, we're making progress here. And that's kind of what the whole thing boils down to. I know that's a little flighty and maybe a little tough to understand, but that's basically what narrative therapy involves. And it's fairly successful, by the way. Okay, so there you have it. I'll be meeting with you soon.